Question orale, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
First of all, the Prime Minister inflated inflation with $500 million in inflationist policies. Then, inflationist taxes that make the production of our goods and services even more expensive. And now, the deficit is increasing interest rates. So every single decision makes things worse. Canadians keep saying, stop increasing taxes, stop inflationist deficits, stop spending. When will the Prime Minister finally listen and stop? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, what I hear from Canadians is that they are concerned with the cost of living, with the cost of sending their children to the dentist, and the cost of rent if they have low income. And that is the reason for which we have gone forward with tangible measures in order to help Canadians. The Conservatives, however, have chosen to be against dental care for children. They choose to be against direct help for low-income renters. If they really want to be here for Canadians, then they would support our plans to support Canadians.
Le chef de l'opposition.
But everything he does makes the problem worse. Right. It started with $500 billion of inflationary deficits. More money chasing fewer goods equals higher prices. Then he brought in more inflationary taxes with the help of his costly coalition partners. They want to triple that tax. And now his deficits are driving up interest rates faster than at any time in 30 years. There's really one thing for him to do. Stop. Stop the inflationary taxes. Stop the inflationary deficits. Stop driving up the cost of living. Will he do the honourable thing, the compassionate thing, and stop taxing Canadians?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the investments we made during the pandemic to support seniors, to support young people, to support workers, to support small businesses, not only helped people significantly through the difficult years of the pandemic, but also ensured that our economy came roaring back faster than many other economies around the world. That's why we've continued to be there to support Canadians, not just because it's the nice thing to do, but also because it's the way to ensure that our economy grows in the best possible ways for all Canadians, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
He claimed he had to add that $500 billion of debt because of COVID, but according to his own parliamentary budget officer, 40% of the new debt he added in the last 2 years alone had nothing whatsoever to do with COVID. This Prime Minister has added more debt than all previous Prime Ministers combined, saying that low interest rates would make it a costless proposition. Well, now we learn from Desjardins Banking that Canadians will spend more on debt interest on the federal debt next year, $50 billion, than we typically spend on health care transfers to the provinces. Wow. Why is he giving the money to bankers and bondholders instead of doctors and nurses?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our investments to support Canadians through the pandemic, our investments to support them right now with the GST credit that's going to help families with hundreds of dollars at a moment they need them, support low-income families pay for rent, support low-income families with help for dental. These are the things that are going to make a difference right now in the way we move forward, while the Conservatives talk about cuts to EI, cuts to pensions, and taking money away from Canadians by ending the climate action incentives that has most Canadians far better off with the investments we're making to fight climate change.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, it kind of reminds me, he's a carbon tax paying higher taxes will make people better off. Well, we found out from the parliamentary budget officer that wasn't true. And then he said that he would take on all the debt so that Canadians wouldn't have to. Remember that? Well, not only are they stuck with a higher national debt with more interest payments, but now their personal debts are going up. According to Equifax, the average Canadian household has more credit card debt than at any time in Canadian history, and the Prime Minister's inflationary policies are driving up interest rates on those costs. So if he really took on all that debt so that Canadians wouldn't have to, who's going to pay those Canadians' credit card bills?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
The Leader of the Opposition were truly concerned about the cost of living for Canadians, he would be supporting our measure to support families with the cost of dental care for their kids. They'd help with our support on low-income renters as well. But, Mr. Speaker, I'm also astonished to hear that the Leader of the Opposition has been silent on the matter of the use of the notwithstanding clause preemptively to suspend people's fundamental rights and freedoms. I call on the Leader of the Opposition to stand up for workers' rights, to defend people's rights and freedoms, and condemn the preemptive use of the notwithstanding clause to suspend workers' rights.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
No one has done more to attack workers' rights than the Prime Minister, who eats up their paychecks with 40-year highs in inflation. And who had to give the money to? $54 million for the Arrive scam app, an app we didn't need, that didn't work, that sent 10,000 people wrongly into quarantine, and that could have been designed for $250,000 in a weekend, but took $54 million instead. Some of the companies the Prime Minister said got the money said they never received it. It's time for the truth. Will the Prime Minister support our motion to call in the auditors?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I know we're all astonished to hear the Leader of the Opposition miss an opportunity to stand up for the rights and freedoms of workers. That is something that we expect him to continue to do alongside all of us in the House in condemning the preemptive use of the notwithstanding clause. But on top of that, he's also talking about cuts to EI. When he criticizes us for being there and ensuring that EI and CPP is there for workers into the future, he calls that tax increases. We're going to be there to support people paying EI. We're going to be there to support people with their pensions. We're going to be there for dental and rental. He is not.
Honorable